England, a land once fractured by war, torn between Anglo-Saxons and Vikings, a kingdom not yet whole. Amidst the chaos, one man would rise to forge unity from division. A warrior, a scholar, a ruler unlike any before him. His name was Æthelstan. From the shadows of his legendary grandfather, Alfred the Great, to the fields of Brunanburh, where the fate of a nation was sealed, this is the story of England's first true king, the man who made a kingdom. Here is our Chapter 1, Origins and Ascent to Power. Imagine a land torn by conflict, divided among warring kingdoms, with Viking raiders looming on every shore. This was England in the late 9th century, a land in desperate need of unity. And from this chaos, a single figure would emerge to forge a new destiny for his people, Æthelstan. Born in 894, Æthelstan was the grandson of the legendary Alfred the Great, a man who had laid the groundwork for the survival of Anglo-Saxon England. Raised in a world of political intrigue and brutal warfare, Æthelstan was trained from an early age in the art of kingship. His father, Edward the Elder, expanded Wessex's influence, but it would be Æthelstan who would complete the dream of a unified England. Upon his father's death in 924, Æthelstan ascended to power, but not without resistance. His own family contested his claim, and rival factions sought to undermine his rule. Yet with patience and strategic brilliance, he solidified his position, crowned king of the Anglo-Saxons in 925. What followed was a reign of unparalleled ambition. Chapter number 2, Consolidating Power. Æthelstan knew that his hold on power depended on more than just the loyalty of Wessex and Mercia. To truly unify England, he needed to bring the Viking-controlled territories and the independent kingdom of Northumbria under his rule. In 927, he launched a bold campaign against the Viking rulers of York. With a swift and decisive assault, he seized the city and forced its leaders to submit. For the first time, all Anglo-Saxon kingdoms were under a single ruler. The vision of a united England was no longer a dream, it was becoming a reality. But conquest alone was not enough. Æthelstan understood the power of diplomacy. He formed alliances with the rulers of Scotland and Wales, using both military might and political acumen to ensure their loyalty. Æthelstan's court became a center of European diplomacy, where kings and princes sought his favor. He was not just an English ruler, he was a statesman on an international stage. Chapter 3, Battle of Brunanburh, Æthelstan's greatest triumph. Despite his conquests, not everyone accepted Æthelstan's rule. In 937, a massive coalition formed against him, the combined forces of the Scots, the Vikings of Dublin, and the Britons of Strathclyde. Their goal, to dismantle his fragile kingdom and shatter the unity he had fought so hard to create. The battlefield was Brunanburh. It was a clash of titanic proportions, one of the most significant battles in English history. From sunrise to sunset, warriors fought in a brutal melee, swords clashing, shields splintering, the ground soaked in blood. Æthelstan, a masterful tactician, led his forces with unyielding resolve. His army, though outnumbered, fought with ferocity, repelling wave after wave of enemy assaults. By the day's end, the coalition was shattered, their leaders dead or in retreat. It was a victory so great that poets immortalized it in verse, celebrating Æthelstan as the mightiest king of his age. Now, here starts Chapter 4, Æthelstan's Legacy. Æthelstan's triumph at Brunanburh secured his place in history, but his legacy extended far beyond the battlefield. He was a ruler of intellect, a patron of learning, a reformer of law. Under his reign, England became a beacon of stability. Æthelstan strengthened the legal system, creating new codes that emphasized justice and order. He encouraged scholarship, collecting books from across Europe and fostering a court that valued knowledge as much as warfare. Æthelstan was also deeply religious, endowing churches and monasteries, gifting relics, and supporting the spread of Christianity. His influence reached beyond England, as rulers from the Holy Roman Empire and France sought alliances with him. Æthelstan was more than a warrior. He was a king who shaped a nation. Last but not the least, Chapter 5, Death and aftermath. But even the greatest kings must fall. In 939, Æthelstan passed away at the age of 45, leaving behind a kingdom that, though momentarily unstable, would endure. His burial at Malmesbury Abbey was a quiet contrast to his eventful reign, but his legacy was unshakable. Though history often overlooks him in favor of later rulers like William the Conqueror or Henry VIII, it was Æthelstan who first forged England into a single realm. Without him, the country as we know it might never have existed. His life was one of conquest, strategy, and vision, a story of a man who rose above chaos to become the first true King of England. A name that should never be forgotten. 1,000 years later, Æthelstan's legacy remains etched into the foundations of England. His victories paved the way for a unified nation, his laws shaped its governance, and his vision set the course for its future. History may not always remember his name, but without Æthelstan, England might have remained a land of fractured kingdoms, lost to time. His is a tale of power, perseverance, and ambition, a story that deserves to be told. Æthelstan, the first king of England. And at end, I have made some more details in more chapters. So, chapter 6 is the legacy that shaped a nation. But what truly makes a ruler great? Is it the battles won, the laws enacted, or the vision that lingers long after they are gone? Æthelstan's victories on the battlefield had secured his kingdom, but his achievements off the field would prove just as significant. He was not only a conqueror, but a reformer, a king whose laws brought order to a land once torn by war. Under his rule, justice was strengthened. His legal codes promoted fairness, establishing protections for the weak and punishments for the corrupt. Education flourished. Æthelstan surrounded himself with scholars, collecting books from across Europe and fostering an era of intellectual growth. Religion thrived. He supported the church, gifting relics and founding monasteries, solidifying Christianity in England. His influence reached beyond England's shores. Kings and emperors across Europe recognized Æthelstan as a ruler of unmatched authority, seeking alliances and favor in his court. He was the first English king to be truly respected as an international statesman. Last, chapter 7 is, without Æthelstan, what would England be? Had Æthelstan failed, England as we know it might never have existed. Imagine a world where the Viking strongholds remained unchallenged, where England remained a fractured land of warring kingdoms. Without Æthelstan's leadership, the dream of a united England might have faded into history, lost to time. He did not just rule a kingdom, he made one. And though history may often overlook his name, his legacy is written in the very foundation of England itself. 1,000 years later, his victories remain legendary. His laws still echo in modern governance, and his vision still shapes the land he once fought to unify. Æthelstan, the first king of England, a name that must never be forgotten. Thanks for tuning in. See you in next video.